Now, for those of you who haven't watched part 1 of this video, I strongly suggest that you should, because otherwise you won't really understand what we're going to be discussing here. So just take a small moment of your time, go watch part 1, and then come back. And a quick recap for those of you that watched it and forgot what it's about. The main character, Cinderella, she was corrupted, ended up killing innocent people, killing her friends, and going haywire. And all of the time, she actually gets to see the horror and the carnage that she is doing. Like, she is conscientious throughout the whole thing, which makes it a very interesting villain. A villain that doesn't want to be evil, but is creating a lot of destruction nonetheless. So eventually, humanity manages to find the technology to incapacitate her, and she's taken it to a lab. She's being dissected in order to figure out what caused her to go haywire. And despite the huge pain and torture that she's undergoing, she actually voluntarily allows it to happen. Like, she can break out at any time, but she views this as penance. Now, her creator was also part of her squad. It's this Nikkei right here to the right. She's a really amazing engineer, and she's the one that created her model. And she also manages to help her escape. The base is attacked by the Raptures, and during the commotion, her creator manages to help her escape. And she tells her the good news. She tells her that she didn't actually manage to kill her previous partners. They suffered incredibly heavy damage. For instance, Siren, she had her jaw broken twice and dislocated. The other two girls, like, they had their legs torn off, but because they're Nikkeis, they were able to be repaired. So they're still alive, and they're wondering if they should meet, and if they should find out that Anachiro is no longer a threat and now she's Cinderella. So they go to this distant underground bunker, and all their friends get together, and they're absolutely terrified of her. They're scared of her because they have PTSD from the trauma that, having been beaten to an inch of their death, and they don't know if they should trust her yet, because she looks like the monster that they saw on television that was killing humans and destroying cities. All the characters feel this way except for this one. Now, it's really interesting how the game manages to use visual design in order to talk about the personality of a character, because they don't have a lot of time to do much expose. All of this is being presented in a couple of short clips. So the visual design is extremely important, and we're going to go more in depth after I finish the story. And as you probably figured out by now, the world of Nikkei is incredibly grim-dark. You have the apocalypse, the machines are coming, they're killing everyone, humanity isn't able to fight back. With Cinderella turned into Arakiro, the situation is even more grim because the ability to change the tide of war didn't occur. And you can see that the main characters are affected by this. They're affected by the battle fatigue, the combat, and the despair is taking a toll on their psyche. And Red Shoes is able to actually alleviate that. She looks like a motherly figure. She looks like a big sister type that makes people feel comfortable around her. She is able to raise the spirits. She's capable of keeping the group together. So when she says that they should give Cinderella a chance, people listen because they like Red Shoes. They're feeling safe and comfort around her. And again, most of this is done through the visual design of Red Shoes, through her facial expression, through her body posture, and you kind of get the role that she had in her squad. So when she says that Cindy should be given a second chance, they reluctantly agree. Like, you can feel that they wouldn't want to do that, but because Red Shoes is the one that's suggesting it, they're willing to actually give it a chance. So the next part of the story involves Cinderella talking with Red Shoes alone. And this is the first time she actually gets to have a conversation that's not about combat, just catching up with an old friend. And during the conversation, Red Shoes starts to ask her about how was it like when she was Anachiro. And this makes Cinderella uncomfortable, but she does open up, and she says that she felt as if she was trapped in a dark space, and she had to watch through a mirror how her body was acting without her control, and she was doing all of the horrible things, and how she actually wanted that her body would fight against the goddess squad, hoping that she would get killed. But she watched in despair, seeing how she was actually able to overpower the goddesses, and there was no one to stand up against her. And that's when humanity was starting to lose the war. Now, again, the whole thing with Red Shoes is that people feel safe and comfortable around her, so Cinderella opens up even more and says that she still feels incredibly vulnerable because she has no idea what caused the corruption, and she has no idea if the corruption will come back, and she has to live for the rest of her life in solitude because everyone hates her, no one trusts her, and she doesn't trust himself. Like, she has no idea if the corruption will come back, she has no idea if she can resist it again. And Red Shoes tries to calm her down and says that, well, no, actually, I caused the corruption. I infected your body right before deployment, and I was surprised to see just how effective the corruption was. So, with this big reveal, which was foreshadowed, like a lot of players managed to figure out that it was Red Shoes that's the villain, Cinderella now wants to know why. And Red Shoes explains that she was a scientist before being turned into a decay, and she crunched the math, and that the machines seem to have unlimited numbers. And no matter how much humanity fights against them, no matter how many victories, the machines will still eventually win the conflict. So by corrupting Nikkeis, by making them fight on the side of the machines, they will be able to find peace. So humanity will be destroyed, but the couple of Nikkeis that will be infected by her corruption are going to be able to live in peace with the machines. And it's later found out in the lore that she was an absolute psycho. Like, she would take out the Nikkeis, dissect them while living, poking at their brains, like trying to work out the virus that she was creating, and going through different stages of constantly improving it until Cinderella was considered to be her greatest work. And in the game, you have like these very powerful evil Nikkeis that are called the heretics, and all of them are traced back to Red Shoes, like the virus that she created, which made the Nikkeis fight on the sides of the machines. Now, obviously, Cinderella doesn't take this very well, and she has a fight with Red Shoes. It doesn't go well for Red Shoes. But the problem is that, as I mentioned before, Red Shoes was the one that the entire group loved the most. She was like a motherly figure to the rest of them. They would look up to her for advice. They would look up to her for comfort. And now Cinderella, which used to be an Akiro a couple of months ago, has killed Red Shoes. So from the perspective of everyone else, Cinderella was this incredibly powerful Nikkei that turned against humanity, and recently was turned back, but they don't know if it's true, like if she's just pretending or if she's turned back for good. And while having a peaceful conversation with Red Shoes, she snapped. She went berserk and killed her. So from the purpose of everyone else, Cinderella is a monster. A monster that can deceive, can get you to let your guard down, and can snap at any moment. So this is why I love the story so much, because it's creating like interesting dynamics. You're thinking like, oh, okay, she's back now. Like, she's just going to get her friends together and they're going to just fight the bad guy. But no, like the story has deeper layers and interesting twists and turns. But what I wanted to talk about is the design of Red Shoes. And you know, this is what actually got me to make this video series. Because when you go on Twitter, like a lot of people go like, well, why would women have to be hot? Like, why do they have to look like porn models? The exposition for this game is very short. I think you can finish the entire story in less than 30 minutes. It's kind of like a visual novel. But it's really well done. Like, as long as it manages to get the reader to experience various emotions, I think the artists were on point. And in the case of Red Shoes, despite the fact that she doesn't get much screen time, her design makes you notice her. Like, you immediately look at her if she's in a group photo, and again, her body posture everything, like, makes you look at her as if she's a motherly figure. Like, you instantly realize that in a combat situation, right, like when they're suffering from PTSD, they would probably go to her for advice or comfort. And she has this air of calm and serenity about her. And this is portrayed through her facial expressions. Now, there's also the thing that she's got the massive babberies, she's got those thunderous thighs, she's got those massive ass cheeks, and all of that. Like, even if you're not into feminine characters for various Californian reasons, you still go like, oh, what is that? Like, what is with that design, right? So it instantly drags attention. Like, they want the player to notice that she is a character. They want the player to start looking into the character so that you can find the things that foreshadow the fact that she is the villain. And there are like several things. For instance, when you're playing with Cinderella in her memories, Red Shoes is always portrayed alone. Cinderella usually goes like, "Red Shoes, how could you?" And there's like many hints that are dropped, so that when the betrayal happens, it's not unbelievable. You're still shocked. That's like, why did she do this? But at the same time, it's expected. So like the foreshadowing works great. Now, if she wasn't just like a plain female character, if she just looked like an average, AAA Western design, I don't think the story would have hit this hard. And I also think like there's this aspect that a lot of men have, where when they see an attractive woman, they feel like they want to protect. Like they feel like their lizard brain is activated, and they just want to immediately like befriend her and protect. And in this case, you realize that despite the fact that she's so attractive, she's an absolute monster. Like, she's probably one of the worst villains in most video games. And despite the way she looks, she's absolutely cruel and awful and psychopathic. And you still have people that like her, like myself. I think she's the best waifu. I think that I can fix her. I just need a little bit of time. In fact, you know what? I don't even need to fix her. I think she's amazing. I think I can make her worse. Yes, like, that's what we need. We need to make her worse. Sorry, not we. I. There is no you here. It's just me. Like, the fact that many people don't like this waifu, it pleases me greatly, because more for myself. Red Shoes is the best. And the developers of Nikkei Shift Up, they know this, which is why she's never going to get a banner, right? She's dead. So, you're not going to get the banner with Red Shoes. Unless maybe this. Okay, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.